Well, they both came very slowly to the cause. As you said, John Kennedy's personal acquaintance with African Americans was really largely limited to the two valets who served him from his college days on, and to the leaders of the movement itself. In 1960, when he was campaigning for president in San Francisco, a black dentist asked him how many black professionals he knew. He said he didn't know 5 he could call by their first name. And he once asked the baseball star, Jackie Robinson, "I don't know any Negroes, can you introduce me to some?" But I think what did change was his acquaintance with, first of all, we forget how crowded the first 2 years of his administration were. He took office only to face the sit-ins, then the freedom rides in the spring and summer of 1961, desegregating buses. By the fall of 1962, it was the integration of Ole Miss and the bloody riot that killed 2 people. And then finally, 63, the situation in Birmingham. So I think 2 things. One, as a sheer practical matter, he knew that the federal government had to do something about this problem in the terms of a new law if it had any chance of stopping the demonstrations. And there was a real kind of practical-minded rationale for the law that people hoped it would restore order. And the second question, as I said earlier, you know, he was a person who had a sense of unfairness. He felt his own family had been discriminated against as Irishmen. He knew that life was full of unfair, as he once famously said, life is unfair. And I think it just galled him that in the 20th century, his country should have to have this kind of international black eye, and he gradually came to see it. And Bobby Kennedy had a similar awakening, and one crucial encounter that he had was in the spring of 1963, a meeting in New York with some leading black intellectuals. And he went hoping to brag on the administration's good record, how many more black lawyers they'd hired in the Justice Department, how many suits they'd brought to desegregate schools and so forth. And they were having none of it. People like James Baldwin, Lorraine Hansberry, the playwright, whose play, exactly, Harry Belafonte. And they just lit into him and said, you know, you don't know the half of it. And he was shaken. He was angry at first. But in the ensuing days, his aides said he really had a kind of an awakening, and he realized, you know, if I were a Negro, I'd be just as mad as these people are. And I think that began to change his attitudes.